Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to How to Replace Imposter Syndrome with Confidence. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm a certified coach. And today I am going to teach you the simple formula for imposter syndrome. I'm going to teach you the 6-step process for solving imposter syndrome so that you can replace it with confidence. I will also teach you that dead simple formula for self-confidence so that you can start 2021 with your best foot forward. A little bit about me. I started out as a negotiation coach for smart and ambitious women. And I noticed that while I was teaching negotiation strategies and skills to women all around the world, that the symptom of being underappreciated, the symptom of feeling undervalued was really due to the root problem of imposter syndrome, feeling like they don't belong in the workplace, feeling like they weren't good enough, or that somebody was going to find out, right, that they don't really belong in the job, in the leadership position. And so now I have transitioned to working with clients and helping them get to the root cause of the problem that creates the symptom of, gender pay gap or feeling like just lacking in confidence. And I wanted to share this simple process, the simple solution and the process with you because this year, even though it was a year of the pandemic, even though we had so many weird things happen, I was able to help my clients replace their imposter syndrome, build confidence, and generate results in their careers, in their lives. And this is possible for you too. If this is possible in 2020 with the pandemic, imagine what else could be possible in 2021. So having said that, my intention for you is that you take away a simple, actionable insight that you can implement into your life, into your career right away. That you know exactly one thing that you can do to replace your imposter syndrome and have more confidence in 2021. And at the end of this presentation, if you enjoy this content and you feel like there is a fit, there's a potential for you to gain more out of working with me, I will extend an invitation for you to book a free consultation with me in January 2021. All right, so welcome everyone. I see we have awesome women here. And again, I want to emphasize that these simple strategies, the simple formulas, the simple solutions, the 6-step solution that I'm going to share with you, they work for smart women. They work for Black, Indigenous, people of color. They work for immigrants. They work for queer women. They work for all women of all shapes and sizes. And I know this because my clients are these women, as am I. I'll tell you a little bit more about me in a bit. But first, I want to share with you that this is going to really work for you if you are a mid-career woman and you do want to get promoted, you do have a desire to get better paid. You have a job, you want to do it better. You have a job, you want your career experience to be better. You have the desire to improve your career. You have the desire to be a better leader. And you have the desire to have more influence as a woman leader, as a Black woman leader, as an Asian woman leader, as an immigrant woman leader, as a queer woman leader. You have the desire to do it better. You've done it in 2020, you know you can be even better in 2021. And if that is you, you're at the right place at the right time. You know that confidence is an inside game. You know that confidence is up to you. And that is why you are here. And welcome. So, a little bit about me and why it matters for you. My name is Jamie Lee. I immigrated to America in 1989 on Christmas Day, 1989. So it literally has been 31 years since I have immigrated to America. So you can guess my age. I'm turning 39 actually tomorrow. Yes, happy early birthday to me. I studied English as a second language for the first 2 years of my American life. So English is my second language, and from a very young age, I experienced imposter syndrome, feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't really belong here. Maybe I'm a fraud. Maybe I should go back to Korea. Maybe I should go back to my home country. Yeah, that's something that I dealt with from a very young age, something that I'm intimately familiar with. I studied Japanese at Smith College, an excellent all-women's college. And after I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't really know what career direction to take. I ended up working as the only quote unquote girl. I was the only woman at a hedge fund that specialized in Asian equities and Asian stocks. And there I experienced imposter syndrome again, feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't really belong here. I didn't study finance. I'm not really good at math, even though I'm Asian and I wear glasses. You know, people think that I should be good at math, but I'm not really good at it. I'm not really interested in stocks, but here I am because I speak Japanese, Korean, and English, and maybe I don't really belong here. Maybe someone's going to tell me that I shouldn't be here. You know, I experienced all of that, and it resulted in me not confidently advocating for myself. It resulted in me not feeling like I was sufficient, that it was good enough to be in that job. And it resulted in me finding out that I was making 50% of the going market range. And I knew that I could have done better. I knew that this was something that I had missed, negotiating, advocating, leading myself in my career. And so that was a pivotal moment in my career very early, about like 12 years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, that I'm like, oh, I need to learn how to better advocate for myself, how to communicate, how to lead, how to negotiate for myself, right? That was the moment that really brought home for me the importance of replacing imposter syndrome with confidence and taking action on leading for myself in my career and advocating for the value that I was bringing. After that, I transitioned in my career to working as operations director at a tech startup here in New York City. And even there, I was, again, the only woman manager at the management meeting. It just happened so that all of the other leaders were men. Okay? They just happen to be all white men. I have nothing against white men. I love men. I do. I love women. I love men. But it just happens so. And this is something that I know a lot of my own clients experience. They get to a certain level and they are the only woman. And predominantly it's male. Predominantly sometimes there are white males. But in any case, that circumstance can be a trigger for feeling like an imposter, even though you have the credentials, even though you're really good at what you do, even though no one doubts the value you bring. And in fact, people are, praising you and saying, Jamie, or so-and-so, you're doing a great job, keep doing it. But even then, when the circumstance is that you're the only minority only woman at that level of the organization, you can feel like you can experience imposter syndrome, not because there's anything wrong with you, just because you're the only, right? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but a little bit more about me. Now I work as a certified coach. I specialize in helping smart, ambitious women who hate office politics, and I help them get promoted and better paid without throwing anyone under the bus by generating unshakable inner confidence. And I've also become a professional speaker, from speaking English as my second language and, not really knowing English when I first came here, to using English as my primary language and getting paid to, well, this is before COVID, before the coronavirus outbreak, I traveled around the world. I traveled to Rwanda, to Tokyo, to Canada, and I helped women all around the world build negotiation and influence skills. And this year, in 2020, I have used the same solutions, the same process, the same framework that I'm going to share with you to overcome my own internal itty bitty shitty committee. We all know what that is, right? The internal itty bitty shitty committee. And because I did, I was able to help my clients generate a total of $800,000 in additional income just this year. And I'll tell you a little bit more about those client stories, but I'm so glad. I'm so glad and I'm so proud that even in 2020, even in the year of the pandemic, women are getting promoted. Smart women, BIPOC women are getting hired into their dream jobs. They are maximizing their bonuses. They are growing their teams. They are getting bolder, braver, and better paid, even when, just like me, they have experience being the only. They have experience being different. They have experience imposter syndrome. And they were able to replace it with confidence. And when they did, they had tangible and often monetary results in their careers. And this is possible for you too. If I can do it, so can you. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about imposter syndrome. Here's the thing that's really important to understand about imposter syndrome. It is experienced by the best. It is experienced by the brightest among us. Consider these names. These are all like amazing women of all colors. Maya Angelou, the poet, the writer. Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama. New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or known as AOC. Award-winning actors, Meryl Streep, Viola Davis. They have all been on record. You can Google their names. You can Google Maya Angelou, imposter syndrome, Michelle Obama, imposter syndrome, and you will find they have all said they too have experienced imposter syndrome. Okay, even when they are at the highest level of their professional, personal achievements, they have experienced imposter syndrome. What does this tell us? This tells us that it is normal. Of course, when you're very young, when you're just starting out in your career, it's normal to experience imposter syndrome, maybe feeling like, oh, maybe I don't belong, maybe I'm a fraud. And it's also normal at director level. It's also normal at VP and executive levels. You know, most of my clients happen to be at this level here, and it's also normal. It's not true that because you are 5-10 years into your career that you shouldn't be experiencing imposter syndrome. I mean, just look at the names here, right? These are amazing women that we all look up to, of all colors, who also experience imposter syndrome. So what this means is that it's not wrong that you experience imposter syndrome. You're not, there isn't something wrong with you. Maybe there is something right with you. Yeah, you're among these amazing, bright, accomplished women. And understanding what imposter syndrome is, why it happens, and how it happens, it leads to the agency. It leads to power to change it, right? Having it is not a problem. Having it would mean that we're on par with Meryl Streep, Viola Davis, AOC, Michelle Obama, and Maya Angelou. Understanding it, not judging ourselves for it, will help us have the power to shift out of it. So let's dive deeper into imposter syndrome. I am going to share with you dead simple formula. It's gonna blow your mind, okay? Here is the formula for imposter syndrome. Oh, can you see the full Okay, I will read it to you. Okay. Imposter syndrome simply is when you unfairly compare yourself and you feed the doubt that happens in your mind. So what is happening here is this person wearing glasses that are smudged. They're having a distorted perception of themselves, of their value, of their potential. And these smudgy glasses is what I call compare and despair goggles. And when we are wearing compare and despair goggles, what we see, what we perceive through our mind's eye is what gets fed into this mind spiral, right? Sometimes we do this unintentionally. We feed the doubt with this mind spiral where we ruminate and we beat ourselves up. It looks like a storm, right? This is a giant thought bubble, and this is the mind spiral that happens when you feed your doubt. So let's talk a little bit more about unfair comparison. Why do we do this? And what happens when we do? So unfair comparison. So here's you. You're when you're in imposter syndrome, right? You are seeing you're filtering your own experience, your perception of your value and potential through these compare and despair goggles that are all smudgy, right? And then your internal experience of you is this mind spiral when you feed your doubt and you feel shabby on the inside because you're feeding your doubt. And then you compare yourself to others when you look at their LinkedIn profile and you just see the highlight reel. That's like shiny and exciting and it's all success and there is nothing shabby about it. It's all like, ooh, look at me, amazing, right? And so unfair comparison is when you compare your shabby inside, your internal experience, to your perception of what other people put out externally. Or when you compare your shabby insides to a superhuman ideal. And I know we have a lot of women here in this room. We all have been exposed to countless superhuman ideals of what it means to be a woman. Just turn on TV, just watch the commercials, and we see women with these like amazing, impossible bodies and schedules, and you know, it's so easy to compare ourselves to this perfection ideal, the superhuman ideal, and without questioning why, without really questioning, is it even fair to you? Or sometimes this happens with my clients. They compare where they are, right? They're in the middle of their journey, their career journey. Let's say they're on chapter 4 or chapter 5. They're in the middle of it, right? And then they compare it to others' end credits. This happens when you join a firm, and it just happens so that there is a group of people. Sometimes they are men, sometimes they are not, and they just happen to have been working together for 15 years. They have built and sold couple of businesses together, and now you join their firm, and so you're in the middle of chapter 4, you're in the middle of it feeling kind of shabby on the inside and a little lonely, right? And then you compare it to their end credits where everyone's like high-fiving and congratulating each other, and they just seem to have this camaraderie that you can't break into. But then you don't really consider that you're in your chapter 4 and they just happen to be in their like end credits, or they just happen to be in their highlight reel, right? So it's not really fair to you. But when we do this, and this happens unconsciously, right? This happens unintentionally. We don't mean to do it. We just do it like without it being on purpose. And then from there, what happens is you feed your doubt. Okay, so let me see. if you can see, that's better, right? So here's the person in imposter syndrome, still with the compare and despair goggles. And these are the thoughts that happen in your brain, again, unintentionally, when you unfairly compare yourself and feed your doubt. You start thinking, I need to prove myself. You start thinking, oh, I need to be like so and so, and or I need to be perfect. I need to do 150%. I need to be like those women in those, soap and perfume commercials. Or you assume people who have doubts about you, people who have biases against working women, you start thinking, oh, those people, they're probably right about me. And this happens very insidiously because you're not consciously thinking it this way, but you keep ruminating, you keep wondering, you keep worrying, maybe they're right. Maybe they'll be proven right because I make a mistake. And then this results in you thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I'm a fraud and somebody's going to find out, right? So these are all the thoughts that you have when you're in the grip of imposter syndrome. So what we think drives our emotions, and our emotions drive our behavior, right? So the emotions here may be like unworthiness, imposter syndrome feelings, right? And then when you think I need to prove myself, this shows up in your behavior as hustling for approval. Like you're trying to go above and beyond, right? It's like this, oh my God, I need to hustle, hustle, hustle. And so you overwork. You put in extra hours. You're working like 10 hours instead of 8. You work on the weekends. You overcommit. You don't honor your time boundaries because you're like, I need to prove myself. I need to do more. I need to be 150%. And when you think I need to be like so and so, or I need to be like perfect, you pretend. You think, oh, I just gotta fake it till I make it. In other words, you assume someone else's leadership or communication style. It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel right to you, but you try to fake it, right? You just try to like copy somebody else, and it feels inauthentic. And other people can tell when you feel inauthentic, they don't believe you as much. So you don't get as much buy-in when you try to fake it till you make it, right? Or when you think there those people who have bias or who doubt you, when you think, oh my gosh, they might be right about me, of course, then you hide or you appease or you accommodate, or maybe you just freeze in certain conversations, or when there's a hint, when there is a perception that there is conflict, you stay small and you don't speak up, you advocate, you retreat, right? Or when you think I'm not good enough, you don't have your own back. When you don't have your own back in your career, you don't advocate for you don't own or celebrate your wins, you don't feel proud of it, right? And so then what happens as a result of this? And I'm curious, like when you see this, do you recognize yourself and how you feed your doubt and how it shows up in your behavior? Okay. So how do you know that you are feeding your doubt from unfair comparisons? Like these are some of the symptoms, some of the common how should I, symptoms. And this is how you might know you are having the results of feeding doubt from unfair comparisons. You get praise. You do get positive feedback from your team, from your boss, but you don't take it in. Your knee-jerk reaction is to discount it. Your knee-jerk reaction is to be like, well, I don't know, it was the other person's idea, and all I did was just like, make some suggestions, and you don't take in the praise, you don't take in the positive feedback from other people, so of course you don't feel great and you don't believe it either. Okay. And you of course feel overworked, or if you're not overworked, you may feel like I'm coaching this client. she's not overworked, but even then she feels exhausted. She feels like emotionally burnt out. She feels stuck. Okay. Or you second guess your salary. You think, oh yeah, I'm getting this money, but maybe I'm overpaid. And when you think, oh, I'm overpaid, then of course you feel stuck about how you can grow your income, how you can get promoted, because you feel like maybe I don't really deserve the amount of money that I'm getting. And you also have this growing sense of disconnect from visionary leaders. You call them unrealistic. A client of mine felt frustrated because she works for a nonprofit, and her boss was championing for her to win a special bonus as a fundraiser. And there was a conversation about how to establish the framework, how to establish the parameters for a special incentive bonus that she would earn for meeting fundraising goals. And she just felt disconnected. She was getting praise and recognition for bringing money into the nonprofit, but she wasn't taking it in. She wasn't feeling great. She wasn't believing it. And so she just felt even more disconnected from the leaders in her organization who believed in her. And she was judging them as being unrealistic. Right? So she was feeding her doubt from unfair comparison. She was like comparing herself to be like, well, it's not fair. The situation is not fair. Yeah. So she was comparing herself unfairly to her own perfectionist ideal. And so, you know, this was something that I helped her work through. And I'll tell you exactly the solution that I walked her through in a little bit. And all of this really results in lack of confidence in yourself, right? You don't have the confidence that you want. You feel not great. You feel stuck. You feel overworked. You feel exhausted, burnt out. There's this growing sense of undeservingness, even when people are telling you you're doing a good job, even when leaders want to incentivize you with more pay because you are doing a good enough job. Okay, so why do our brains do this? We don't intend to do this. Why do our brains default to these unfair comparisons that sap our confidence and impact our leadership growth, our income growth, right? So here's my very amateur rendering of a human brain. The big part, the curly part. That's the neocortex, the rational, the thinking brain. But here at the base, this is the primitive part of our brain. This is the emotional and instinctual part of our brain. And our primitive brain is the brain that creates our knee-jerk reactions, and a lot of emotions, especially negative emotions that's associated with imposter syndrome. Why does this happen? Our primitive brain likes to save energy. It seeks efficiency by seeking very easy shortcuts, which, in other words, biased thinking. Biased thinking is just a lazy way for our brains to operate. And it's convenient because it saves the brain energy. And it also likes to just repeat the past patterns, repeat the past thinking process, decision-making process, right? And what are these patterns? What are these biases? These are the frameworks. These are the mindsets that we have been taught to think in. This all or nothing, winner or loser kind of thinking, right? This is something that we've been exposed to from a very young age when we were taught to be good students. We were taught to say, hey, 100% is perfect. Anything less than that, anything less than a A plus or A is not good enough. You lost. It's like this all or nothing thinking. Like a lot of us smart, ambitious women were excellent students where we sort of we're indoctrinated to think in this winner versus loser, all or nothing kind of thinking, this framework. And I think what happens is this primitive brain kind of creates this knee-jerk reaction of having us feel a certain way, feeling insecure, feeling doubt, feeling uncertain, feeling unworthy, right? And that those emotions get triggered in the primitive brain just because it's just so familiar from our past education, our past socialization. I think what happens is then, okay, don't quote me on this, I'm not a brain scientist, but I think what happens is then when this primitive brain is triggered, then our neocortex kind of follows the primitive brain's lead by rationalizing our imposter syndrome thinking process. By rationalizing, feeding our doubt, by saying, hey, you know what? I should compare myself to these perfect, these superhuman ideals. I should compare myself unfairly, even though it makes me feel terrible, because then I'll be more motivated to do better. Right? It's like whipping ourselves in the back. I'll be more motivated, except you don't feel more motivated. No, you don't. When you're in imposter syndrome, you feel terrible. You don't feel great. You feel demotivated, if anything, right? So this is a lie, a convenient lie that our brain tells ourselves, and when we buy into it, we deepen our imposter syndrome. Okay, so then what is the solution? Very simple. First, you learn to watch your mind. You learn to watch, to pause, and have greater self-awareness so that before the primitive brain takes over and the neocortex follows in the primitive brain's lead, you gain control by pausing, watching, and then noticing, right? And so you watch your mind before the reaction happens, the reaction of unfairly comparing and feeding your doubt. And then from there, you put down the smudgy compare and despair glasses that creates a distorted perception of you, your value, and your potential. And you put on neutrality glasses. In other words, you wipe it clean. So that you can really see things, you can really see you, your value, your potential as is without distortion. And so when you are able to see it without distortion, you're able to assess you, the situation, your value from a calm and neutral perspective. So from there, right, so then this means that you don't go into the negative emotional reaction so that you can stop feeding your doubt by ruminating and beating yourself up, and you can start feeling emotions in the body to process. And when you do this, when you allow and you process your emotions, you can also practice the emotion of self-confidence. And then you practice taking self-confident actions with future focus. And I'll explain what that means in a bit. And when you practice self-confident actions with a future focus by looking towards who you are becoming, where you're headed, right? Then you're able to create strategies, implement them, and then evaluate your strategic solutions. You can evaluate by asking yourself, what went well? What didn't go well? How can I do it better, right? Notice how different that is from like beating yourself up, ruminating, oh, why am I not good enough? You know, so-and-so is thinking terrible things about me. Maybe the shoe's gonna drop and people won't like me anymore, right? You stop that. And you ask yourself, what am I doing well? How can I validate me first? How can I own my success? Because when you do that, you're able to advocate for the value you bring as your own ally. Okay? And here's why this 6-step solution works. When you learn to watch your mind, to pause, to take a strategic pause before you react, right? And gain control. You control the only controllable, which is your mind. We cannot control the weather. We cannot control other people. We cannot control what happens in 2021, right? We're still in the coronavirus pandemic right now. We know that vaccines are going to be available, but we cannot control when and how. We cannot control when we get back to work. We cannot control circumstances outside of us, but our mind is what we can control. People who manage their mind and say, you know what, I am still bringing value no matter what is happening in the world, they are bringing value because they're managing their mind. Like, this is how you regain control and power and agency over your imposter syndrome. And when you put down the compare and despair goggles and put on the neutrality glasses, you gain access to your higher thinking brain, right? The primitive brain is no longer hijacking your thinking process. You're able to gain access to your higher thinking, negotiating brain, the neocortex, from a calm place, from a neutral, objective, confident place. And this also means you are able to process your negative emotions, right? You're able to process whatever is coming up or triggered by the primitive brain by allowing it to pass through your body as if it was just a sensation, just a sensation in the body, without making it mean something has gone wrong with you. And when you do this, when you process your negative emotions, you become unstoppable. Think about it. The reason why people don't take action is because of fear. The reason why people don't take action is because of fear of feeling like a failure, fear of feeling ashamed, fear of feeling rejected. This is the reason why people don't negotiate. This is the reason why people don't advocate for themselves, regardless of their gender, right? It's really the fear, and the fear of feeling certain negative emotions like humiliation, rejection, failure. But imagine you learn to just process that. You learn to do it afraid. It means nothing can stop you. Become unstoppable in your career, in your life, right? And when you're able to do that and you practice self-confidence, I mean, you just get to have so much more fun. Have fun in your career, yeah, in your life. And it makes you more authentic. Practice does not make perfect, because perfection is a superhuman ideal, but practice allows you to become more of who you are already, an authentic and powerful woman leader. And when you become more authentic because you practice self-confidence more, you become more believable to you and to others. And when you're more believable, you have more influence. You're able to get more buy-in. You're able to get your ideas across and work in a collaborative way with stakeholders both in and outside of your workplace. And from there, we create strategic solutions. And remember, solutions add value, right? And value is what creates money. Value is what grows your income, not working more hours, not hustling for other people's approval, not working until 11 p.m. and trying to answer every message on Slack. That does not create more income. Value from creating solutions do. And this is most important. When you learn to advocate for you, when you learn to become your own best ally, you teach your team, you teach the next generation of women, of BIPOC women, and the minority people in your team. You teach them how they can advocate for themselves. You become the example of what is possible when you take control of the only controllable, your mind, where imposter syndrome happens, right? And you show how you can become your own best ally, and that inspires the next generation of leaders, that inspires your team, your direct reports to do it for themselves. Okay, so here's the formula for self-confidence. Just to summarize, These are neutrality glasses. Remember the compare and despair glasses that created a distorted perception of you? So these are wiped clean. Like I do this every morning. Every morning I get up and I wipe my glasses because overnight they get like smudged with oil and whatever, dirt, right? And every morning I wipe them clean so that I can see myself, see the world clearly. And neutrality glasses are just, it's the same idea. It's like, how can we assess your value, your potential, your situation objectively? And from there, direct your focus to who you are becoming, to where you are headed. Right? We don't want to be looking back or looking down, which is what we do when we're in imposter syndrome. We want to be looking ahead to where we're going. This is how you get to where you want to go without falling on your face, right? You look towards where you're going. So that's what this means. And you're willing to feel all the emotions. And this, I know this is a very funny picture. Basically, this is a person. And notice there's nothing happening. There's no rumination and mind spiral happening in the mind. So the mind is blank and the person is in the body. This is not a hairy person. This is just the squiggly lines are my rendition of what the emotion, what the experience of processing your emotion is like. You're alive and present to the motion of sensations. Like when I process my emotion of inadequacy, I feel it like in my chest, right over my heart. I feel the sinking feeling. I feel like this like heaviness, right? So like I'm able to identify, describe, and feel, process that emotion without jumping into my mind, beating myself up about it, ruminating and saying, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way. No, of course, we're supposed to feel all the emotions. Remember, Maya Angelou, AOC, Michelle Obama, Meryl Streep, they all feel what you feel. They all sometimes feel doubt. They all feel insecure. Like anybody you look up to, feeling an emotion is just a human experience. And so when we shift our neutral, clear, objective perspective to where we're going and be willing to feel all the emotions, this creates self-confidence because when you look to who you're becoming, this generates commitment, right? Commitment to becoming an example of what is possible for the next generation of minority women leaders. Commitment to becoming the best professional possible. Commitment to becoming a woman, a mother who is a breadwinner and does her best, right? And this is the compelling reason. This fuels you to stay committed to that vision of where you're headed, right? And this generates the courage to feel and to take action. Courage is really an uncomfortable emotion. Courage is like feeling bad, feeling afraid, and taking action anyways. And this results in capability and the confidence that you want, okay? So, to recap, imposter syndrome is when you compare yourself unfairly. Here are the compare and despair goggles. And from there, because you've taken a distorted perception of you, your potential, your value, feeding your doubt with rumination and beating yourself up. And remember, this happens because our brain rationalizes this as if you're going to be more motivated, but we all know that's not actually true. It doesn't actually generate the results you want. It actually generates results of you feeling unworthy, not good enough, even when people are telling you you're doing a good enough job. And so the antidote is self-confidence, which you create by wiping these glasses clean, so you have neutrality glasses, and looking to where you're headed, who you are becoming, where you want to go in 2021 and beyond, and taking action while feeling all emotions, doing it afraid, right? That's courage. Okay, so if you enjoyed this content, and if you want expert support in your corner so that you can implement all 6 steps of the solution, I can help you. You're invited to book your consult today. It is an hour-long one-on-one confidential conversation with me, and this is perfect for you if you are a mid-career woman and you want to do your career better. You want to replace imposter syndrome with confidence. You want to do it faster, okay, than if you had to do it on your own. What will happen is in this conversation, I will ask you some more open questions. It's like you go to the doctor and you do an intake, right, of your unique situation. And from there, I will give you sort of, quote unquote, a prescription, if you will, or basically a custom solution, high level custom solution of actions that you can take to generate results that you want in your career. If you want to get bolder, if you want to get braver, you want to get better paid, you want to get promoted, right? And if there is a fit for your needs, then we can explore what it would be like for you and me to work together over 6 months in one-on-one coaching. Okay, so I want to invite you to book your consult today. This is where you go. You go to calendly.com, Jamie Lee/consult. Calendly.com, Jamie Lee/consult. And now, if you have any questions, I will open up the floor to questions. Okay. Thank you, Iris. We're birthday twins. Yay. Okay. Iris adds, practice makes permanent. That is really good. Yes, practice does make permanent. So I'm just gonna quickly revisit the 6-step solution so you can see for yourself what it is that you practice. Right. So these are the actions, right? These are the actions that you want to practice. And these are the actions that I will help you implement in your career and life so that practice makes permanent, right? Watching your mind before reacting so that you gain control over your mind. And when you gain control of your mind, you gain control over your emotions. Putting down the compare and despair glasses so you put on neutrality glasses. So you stop feeding your doubt and start feeling to process emotions, which is what makes you unstoppable in your career. And you practice self-confident actions with the future focus. And you implement, you evaluate strategic solutions and advocate for the value you bring as your own best ally. Okay, somebody asked, are there sectors, industries that I specialize in? I happen to work with a lot of women who work in technology, engineering, math, science, pharmaceutical, finance, as well as nonprofit. So they just happen to be across the sectors, but by and large, many of my clients do work in male-dominated industries. Can you share how you do the 6 steps within a few sessions, or does it take a lot longer? So I walk my clients through this over a 6-month period. Okay, so here's the thing. You may generate results in 3 months. It might take you like literally 3 months. I have a client who learned to what did she do? She stopped feeding her doubt and she started feeling to process, and she coupled that with practicing self-confident action towards where she wants to go. And so she created strategic solution of advocating for herself in her job. And in doing so, she needed to really generate courage. Remember, courage is what builds capability and confidence. And she generated so much courage in asking her boss for what she wanted, which was a bigger challenge, more responsibilities, that she ended up writing that courage to apply to her dream job. And she did that in 2 months. And she got the dream job, and I helped her in negotiating for a higher pay. She ended up securing a job that pays $50,000 more than before, and it took her 2 months. Okay. So sometimes it takes shorter. It doesn't take 6 months, but I set my clients up for success. And that is why the coaching program is 6 months, because life happens. Sometimes we forget, sometimes, practice isn't just like linear. Sometimes there's up and down, or failure happens. It happens, and it's okay. I want to set myself clients up for most success, and that is why I give them 6 months to really practice all of these 6 steps. And sometimes they happen concurrently. Sometimes we focus on one. When we have 6 months, when we have double the time than we know we can do, then we know we can get there for sure. Okay. Hope that answered your question, Anonymous. I'm reading Mimi's question. And okay, so she made the connection to a book called The House in the Cerulean Sea, story of a magical world, but a caseworker who gets out of his comfort zone and becomes brave. All right, learning and braving, practicing being brave is my goal. Love it. Okay, Kat says, she wants to get started on the right foot with her leadership skills. Should I give myself some time in the new position before working with you? Okay, so you're the one who can best answer that question. But if you're wondering, if it might be better to get support now rather than later, just, be curious with yourself. Like, what might be giving you pause today? Maybe I would be better served having support sooner rather than later. I don't know. Okay. So if you want to get started on the right foot with your leadership skills, I want to invite you, Kat, to let's have a chat sooner rather than later, because what I get from your comment is that maybe you're not 100% sure what that looks like. What does it actually look like to get started on your right foot with your leadership skills? And if you want some clarity around it, we can have a chat. And again, here's how you book your consult with me. Just go to this link, select an hour in January, and we'll have a chat. Okay, and we can have a chat now, and maybe you decide now is not the best time to do it. You can make that decision, right? You're not going to be held to getting started right away. I'm going to support you in getting clarity around what does it mean to start on the right foot. What is my desire? Like, how do I want to show up? Okay, so I hope that addressed your question. Okay, what would be an example of wearing your neutrality glasses instead of compare and despair? Love it. Okay, so one example I can tell you is um, a client of mine got promoted to marketing director this year. And in the beginning of our coaching, she felt a lot of imposter syndrome. And she was feeling like maybe she doesn't belong in the senior management meeting. And she was comparing herself to like an ideal of a superhuman ideal of like having it all together. And so she was beating herself up a lot, right? And she wasn't really thinking about like, what is my value? Like, who am I? Why did I get promoted? Like, what is the value I add in this position as marketing director, right? So she wasn't really thinking about that like clearly. She wasn't really seeing her value clearly. And so through coaching, I helped her see that, thinking maybe I don't belong, maybe I'm not good enough, like those are the smudges on the compare and despair glasses, because it distorts her perception of her value. Think about it. If you are promoted to director, there is value that you're adding in your current role. Otherwise, you would not have been promoted, right? But she wasn't seeing that. She was questioning her value. Okay, so we just like unwind this thought that maybe she didn't belong in this directorship or that she didn't belong in the leadership meeting. And so then she started thinking more neutrally, like what if it's just the fact that she is director, that she does have more knowledge in her subject matter than anyone else in that room, regardless of title. She knows more about marketing than the CEO. She knows more about what she does than the CFO, right? And so she was able to just assess that from an objective and neutral perspective. So I hope that answers your question. And as a result, she was able to stop working past 6 p.m. She was able to stop working on the weekends. She was able to stop second guessing herself and holding herself back from confidently raising her hand and suggesting ideas to the CEO and everyone else at the leadership meeting. Okay, so Ashley asked, could we revisit the future focus page once more? Absolutely. All right. So future focus is about generating commitment to who you are becoming. Who are you becoming? Ooh, that shadow is like really dark. Anyways, commitment to who you're becoming. And you don't have to overthink this because future only exists in our minds, right? We can think about tomorrow, we can think about New Year's Eve, we can think about 2021, but right now it only exists in our mind. And so the future is what we make it be in our minds right now. I know it's a little woo, but really future focus is like consciously and on purpose deciding what the future will be like and who you will be in the future. Then you build commitment to who you're becoming, to your future self, by clarifying your compelling why or your sense of purpose to becoming this leader, this person that you're becoming. Okay, and when you have the commitment and the compelling why, this builds courage to feel and to act, and this results, the courage adds to your capability and confidence. Okay. All right. Ashley, I hope that answered your question. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Do we have any other questions? All right. So, again, if you want to take this work further, or if you're interested in taking this work further and you're interested in having an expert support in your corner for 2021, I invite you to book your consult today. I'm trying to see if I can run away from my own shadow here because the sun just started blasting. And okay, anyways, you're invited to book your consult today. I think January is the best time to get started. We're starting a new year, fresh page. There's never been a better time to work on your mindset, to work on replacing imposter syndrome with this inner self-confidence that is unshakable. Some of my clients have generated amazing results in 2020, even with the pandemic, even with working from home, even as they are, watching their kids and helping their kids do schoolwork from home. One of my clients, Amy, she's been working with me for a little bit over a month and a half now. So this is like our 7th week together. And she says that through this process, she's having major transformations in her confidence. She applied the same 6-step process to negotiate with her ex-husband who had owed her thousands of dollars in debt and money. So she used the same process of putting down the compare and despair glasses, putting on neutrality glasses, right? Thinking about the future, thinking about who she really wants to be, a mother who provides, a powerful and confident woman who knows her value, who knows her worth, who's able to speak up and ask for what she wants. And she used that future focus, she brought that future focus to her conversation with her ex-husband, and she was able to get him to repay her in full. And now she's going to be able to use that same skill to negotiate and advocate for her promotion in 2021. And she will be setting an example of what is possible for a single mom. For a single mom in a male-dominated industry. Okay? And if that is what you want for yourself as well, I invite you to book your consult today. It really is risk-free. I'm not going to hold you to anything. I'm not going to hold you to make a decision that is not for you. What we will do is we will dedicate a full hour for me to really listen and better understand where you are and where you want to go and how we can customize this formula, this process, so that it works for you, so that you can be more bolder, more brave, better paid, promoted, and set an example of what is possible for a powerful woman, for a competent and smart woman. And especially if you are a double minority, immigrants, women of color like myself, you want to be able to set the example of what is possible for you so that it becomes more possible for other women who may look like you, who may or may not look like you. Okay? Replacing imposter syndrome with confidence is possible. It is a simple process. It is not brain surgery, but we do use the brain in a way that works for you, just by understanding why the brain takes you to imposter syndrome. Then we're able to undo it without making you work harder, making you wrong or ashamed or anything less than valuable, worthy, and amazing, which is what you are. Okay, so let's see if all right. Well, Iris, I'm so glad you enjoyed the presentation. You're most welcome. And thank you, Ashley, for wishing me happy birthday. Thank you, everyone. This is my life's work, to help women become bolder, braver, and better paid. And I think replacing imposter syndrome is one of those key and crucial things. And I've really enjoyed myself. I'm so glad I had the privilege and the honor of your attention today. So unless there are any other questions, we will wrap it up. And again, you're welcome to book your consult for January 2021. And I wish everyone a happy new year, a wonderful 2021. All right, have a great one, everyone. Bye.